Okay, you ready for this? Buckle up, Buttercup. Well, you might already know all of this. Maybe this is just for me to process and reflect on. But, oh my goodness. So, this is the chapter where they return to Joseph. They don't know it's Joseph yet. And remember, Jacob in the last chapter finally decides he's going to give up his beloved son. But Judah is the guarantor, right? He's like, if I don't come back with him, basically you can off me, you know? Whereas, like, I think it was Reuben before, he was like, if we don't come back with him, you can take my sons, but he doesn't offer up his own life. So this is where we see Judah's redemption story starting to blossom, where he has the transformation. And so, oh my goodness, it's just, there's so much here. Okay, so they go back, they have the feast in the last chapter, and now Joseph is ready to send them on their way, the brothers, with Benjamin. And they're like, okay, cool, we're off. This is going to be good. We're going to get him back to our father Jacob. Well, no, because Joseph puts the silver cup in Benjamin's bag. And so the cup, I looked it up, and the cup, this silver cup, it's like taking, if you took like a president's expensive watch, except this is more personal. This is like tied to like divinations. It's considered a major crime to steal something like this. So the Joseph's servants, basically, they call it the steward. I'm guessing he's like the manager of the house, kind of like how Joseph was. And so he, tracks them down, as Joseph says. He like goes through their bags. He's like, you got this cup. We have to take Benjamin. Okay, now, of course, Joseph, he's setting these guys up. This is like the final test. Like, are you willing to give up this favored son, and are you going to be self-seeking and save yourself? Like, what are you going to do? Because, redemption is dependent on this, because are you going to do something different than you did last time with the favored son? So, hi. And Judah, this is where he redeems himself. He comes back and he is begging for Benjamin. And hang on. Sorry, just a second. Okay, it's a little windy. I hope you can hear me. I'm walking straight into the breeze, but I had to push pause for a second. Anyway, so Judah becomes the spokesperson here for the brothers. And so he starts having a conversation with Joseph, that he doesn't know it's Joseph. To him, it's just this high-ranking Egyptian official just under Pharaoh. So he's very powerful. So he returns to the master, right? And he's trying to explain this situation. And I'm going to read you some of my notes because it's just like, whoa. Okay, let me find them. So Jacob has this deep attachment to Benjamin, as we know. And so Judah's explaining how losing him would absolutely destroy their father. And then Judah offers himself as a slave in Benjamin's place. And he's begging Joseph to let Benjamin return home. And instead he's going to become the sacrificing brother to save Benjamin. And so this continues. I don't know if I said this in the last one I did, but there's like this theme, this biblical truth. I don't know if I talked about this on the last one. I extracted it out of the last chapter. But like basically you cannot see the master's face without the son. And this continues. You cannot see God's face without Jesus Christ. You need the son. They could not go back here unless they had Benjamin with them. They couldn't even approach the throne, basically. I know he's not Pharaoh, but it's kind of, he's high status, right? He could do away with these guys. And we need like that intercession. We need that mediator, if you will, to approach God. And I haven't got to this part yet. I'm so excited to finish my Bible study. I was like, I don't even want to go for my walk, but I was like, I got to get out. I got to do it. So anyway, the silver cup, Spirit was telling me to look into it. But the silver cup, I'm thinking, represents possibly like us taking what is valuable to God. This represents our sin against God. And just, I don't know how to put it into words because I haven't really done my study, but it's an offense. There's a punishment to sin, right? And so I'm thinking that's what this silver cup is representing here. And so in this the verse 30, it says, a part of the verse, it says, as his life is bound up with the boy's life. So Judah is talking to Joseph, and he's like, please don't take him. My father's life is bound up with the boy's life. And I looked into that, and what Judah is saying is that Jacob's emotional life, his heart and his well-being are so deeply tied to Benjamin. Benjamin is so precious to him that losing him would emotionally destroy Jacob, and he would just collapse into grief. And there's so much going on here. But this kind of was going on in the last chapter where Jacob was basically negotiating, like, can I trust these guys? Can I send my son, my precious son? If something were to happen to him, it would be completely catastrophic, completely devastating. It would send me to the grave. I already lost one son. I can't handle losing another one. And so, anyways, this this goes on a whole other rabbit hole of like Jacob has had like complex grief or complex trauma, and he's so fearful and he's so attached to Benjamin and he can't let go. And that's like a whole other rabbit hole. But yeah, he's basically old and he's carrying all this unresolved grief and trauma, and he's clinging very tightly. And it just also shows like his raw humanness. And I think that's why they're referring to him as Jacob here. He's elderly, he's grieving, he's fearful, he's traumatized by like repeated loss. And essentially he has like complex trauma. And this is how he's coping. He's like latched on to Benjamin. But more than that, I think this verse is like emphasizing the depth of Jacob's love and attachment and fear of loss. And he says, I don't remember exactly how it says it, but he's talking about Sheol, I think is how you say it. It's like the realm of the dead in Hebrew. It's this place of where departed souls go after death, the grave, the pit, the shadowy place of the dead. And Jacob feels that if something happens to Benjamin, the grief will bring him to the grave. And this is so important. It's so important. I'm going to get to that. But okay, backing up to Judah. And so this is like a Christ typology. And that just means like a person or event or story in the Old Testament that prophetically foreshadows or points toward Jesus Christ and his work of redemption. But anyway, so Judah becomes the willing substitute. He offers himself in Benjamin's place, saying essentially, take me instead so the boy can go free and return to the Father. And this echoes the pattern of Christ of taking another's punishment, self-sacrifice out of love, refusing to see the beloved destroyed, making a way for reconciliation with the Father. And it becomes even more significant. Sorry, I'm just kind of referring to my notes here. Because Jesus later, he comes from the line of Judah, and the tribe itself starts to carry themes of kingship, sacrifice, intercession, and ultimately the Messiah. So anyway, here we go. So not returning to the father without Benjamin, Judah cannot bear the thought of the father grieving his lost child and the son remaining condemned, imprisoned, punished for the sin against the master. So he stands in the gap himself, and Christ does this in a far greater way. He stands in the gap for us. He takes the judgment so we can return to the Father, reconciled and free. And then circling back around, I told you I was going to come back to verse 30, where we are talking about Jacob and how he cannot handle this thought of losing Benjamin. And the emphasis, I feel like, on this verse is the depth of Jacob's love, his attachment, and his fear of the potential loss of his beloved and favored child. And again, except this time it's more of a typology with with Father God, Jacob's heart is deeply bound to Benjamin. The thought of losing him brings grief, sorrow, and the sense of death itself. However, Judah steps forward as a guarantor and a substitute, offering himself so the beloved son can return safely to the Father. And this echoes the gospel pattern. The Father loves his children so much, and humanity is in danger, just like little Benjamin here, by sin and death, and a willing substitute, Judah/Jesus, steps in as a guarantee, as an intercessor, so reconciliation can happen. And this is just the foreshadowing of Christ, pointing forward to beloved son or child in danger, grief of the Father, substitute offering himself, restoration through sacrifice. And this is all just what Spirit downloaded to me this morning. I was just literally reading through the chapter, because that's what I do before I even include any kind of third-party input. And so I haven't even got to the commentaries yet, and this is already coming through. And I'm like, this one's going to be a good one. This one's going to be a good one. And I was like, I don't even know if I want to share yet, because I know there's so much more here. But it's so deep and so good. And just, yeah, it's interesting to me how every word, every verse, from the beginning, literally Genesis, the beginning, from the beginning, God never changes, right? Like, it's the same. This is revealing who he is, his character, how he works, his plan for us, and it hasn't changed, and it's not going to change. And it's just like, if you can grasp even the beginning, you can grasp the middle of the book, the New Testament, where Jesus actually does it. Like, it's all full circle, right? So anyway, okay, well, that is all I got for this morning.